Hey, it's Thursday, 7 p.m. UK, and what does that mean? It means this is it. So, how you doing, Mitchell?
I'm good. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm drinking my ketones. How are you doing, Inessa?
I'm great, absolutely great. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm telling you, what I'm thinking is that we're the three of us. We're really building a good relationship here. What do you think?
No, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
I agree.
Yeah. Good rapport.
I think good rapport, good relationship, getting to know each other. I think that could be something we can talk about a little bit more in 30 seconds time. What do you think?
Yeah. Relationships. Yeah. Good topic.
You know, I think regarding relationships, in all honesty, relationships I think have more than just one aspect. I mean, there's relationships between intimate partners, right? There's relationship between family, interfamily relationships, and then there's friendships, and then there's like maybe work colleagues, and then there's relationships between us and the rest of society, people that we don't even know. And then there's a kind of a mixture. And like, for instance, I take the three of us. We're a bit of a mixture between what's colleagues and friends, right? We're kind of colleagues, friends, that kind of area. There's a bit of an overlap, or at least I think so. But
yeah, definitely.
But when you look around the world, especially this week, and you see, just the news, the breakdown of relationships, the breakdown of society that's getting, just in France, for instance, this week, these horrific attacks, call them terror attacks, call them any attacks, kind of attacks you want. It doesn't take away from the fact that it's abuse, it's bullying, it's aggression from one person to one or more people. For whatever reason, it doesn't make any difference. In my opinion, and I think it's a majority opinion, and this is just not acceptable in any type of relationship. It doesn't matter if it's society, friendships, workplace, individual, in intimate relationships between me and myself. Because we can have bullying relationships with ourselves, we can have aggressive relationships with ourselves. So I'm putting it out there. What do you guys think about that?
Inessa, after you.
It's very interesting how you said about relationship with ourselves, because I think it's very important to respect ourselves, because sometimes we don't realize how hard we can be for ourselves. Like lots of people, for example, they criticize themselves. Like from the first things in the morning, some people wake up, look in themselves, like, oh, I look so bad, I look not nice, oh, I haven't done this, So instead to be nice for themselves, they are very hard for themselves. So I think it's very important, because is when you build up all this relationship with yourself, is really, really important, because they bring you balance, they bring you confidence, and just all this negativity you removed.
I'm with you on that. I think from a relationship with ourselves perspective that you've brought up is that we are the ones that get in our own way most of the time. If we're going to get in our own way, we can't expect the world to get us out of that. We've got to get ourselves out of that. Now, we can get help with that, but we find that most human beings are in their own way. And that voice that we all have up here can sometimes be quite abusive and quite aggressive without being ill, just on a general basis. We've got these, disturbing thoughts coming into us all the time. And, it can be very, very disturbing from the fact that it will stop us doing things, stop us going out there and accomplishing things for ourselves or for others, because we have this voice telling us all the time, maybe you shouldn't be doing that, maybe you're not good enough about doing that. I find that happens to me on a regular basis. And sometimes I've got to really use the skills that I've learned over time and use my friendships, use the relationships around me to give me that kind of encouragement and say, look, even if you fall, we're here with you, right? So have that little bit of self-compassion of, you know what, there is no such thing as failure. There's only a negative feedback of learning experience. So if it didn't work, so you'll do it something differently the next time and you'll go on and try again, right? Yeah. But yeah, we are, between us and ourselves, it can be absolutely painful. What do you think about that, Mitchell?
No, I agree with what you're saying. I think as well, what I think is also really, really important is our relationship, again, with others. In where we live, our community. I mean, I'm going back many, many years where, neighbours, everyone was very communicative. If someone had a problem, you'd help and stuff. And I've seen that, I feel it's slipped over the past decades now. Things have just shifted slightly. And I think that's down to people are a bit more withdrawn or fearful of other people. You don't have that sense. I mean, in my local area, the shops, the restaurants, I know most of the people in there. And it's that relationship as well. Hello, how are you? How's your day? How's your family? Just general things like that, I think is really important. Just asking someone how they're doing, how they're managing. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think the big malls, the big shopping malls, right? You get them in every city. You see, I think that was the start of the breakdown of society. Little fabrics here and there. Everything has a bit to it, right? And now that these are sometimes they're being closed down because of the era we live in, then you see the importance of corner shops. You see the importance of, your neighborhood stores, if you know what I mean, where you don't have to actually travel very far to get your whatever you need. And I know from my own personal experience, I'm using the shops that are really as close to my home as possible, much more than going down and, just because of how we're living right now. But I see how important it is to have local stores.
Yeah, definitely. And also because I think, especially now, as you were just saying, Dove, it's about supporting local businesses. And it's that relationship again. It's all about that relationship, the relationship with the community, using the local stores, helping the local businesses to continue to be able to sustain and keep going forward. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I agree. I always say, no matter what, community support structures, however, what name you want to call it, but having people around you, knowing your neighbors, saying hello, saying thank you to people, even if they're in shops and they're working, or even policemen walking by, or ambulance people, or whatever it is, just to show a friendly face and say thank you. There's a lot of people out there working, and they've also got worries and they've also got things on their head, but they're out there trying to provide a service for others. We should be, even the bus driver. How many people say thank you to the bus driver, right? I really make a point of it when I leave a bus to say thanks, mate, as I get off a bus, or to taxi driver, whatever. But it's really important that people, I think, in any relationship, right? We're just using this as an example, but any relationship needs to have a certain amount of gratitude being expressed. between one another.
And I guess as well, I think moving on from there is there has to be effort in relationships. There has to be a consistent effort, because even with friendships or with family, you know, people live in different places, different areas. You know, sometimes you don't speak to someone, or you don't call. There has to be that consistency of, yeah, I've got to actually work at this to keep that relationship going as well. Especially with friends, that can just, you know, someone moves. I've had a friend of mine move out the country, but you know, obviously the beauty of, you know, the internet and everything else, you can still communicate. But it is about the effort, putting in that effort.
Inessa, do you think there is a difference, or should be a difference, between how men and women relate to each other, or should it be the same?
In my opinion, I think it should be the same, because like from my own experience, I have lots of friends, men's and women's as well. And I have amazing relationship with the men's as well, and we just like friends, and they're very supportive. So I think it's really important to have a mix of the people of the relationship. It depends how you're going on with the person, and yeah.
What would you say the top three things, in your opinion, Inessa, that are important in any relationship, even if it doesn't have to just be an intimate relationship, but including any relationship? What are the three top things you think are the most important?
Is, in my opinion, is the loyalty, trust, and respect is really important. Like, you know, to respect the other person's views and beliefs and like everything, like feelings, and yeah, and also trust as well, like to be loyal to the person and supportive. I think it's really important.
So loyalty, trust, and
what I said, I forgot, like
Respect.
Respect.
And respect, yeah, respect.
Yeah. Did that, Mitchell?
The thing is, what Inessa just said, I think that the three are really a good valued values. So, you know, respect, loyalty, and, you know, trust. I think, you know, yeah, those for me would be pretty much the same, really.
What about you? How do you think was the most important?
Well, just, yeah, I mean, just picking up on the loyalty, this week on the news, there was, there's a very controversial nurse. I don't know if you've heard of her, called Kate Shamrani. She's going out and demonstrating and making YouTube videos and everything, all about, you know, kind of on the verge of conspiracy theories regarding, you know, coronavirus and everything. Her business, that's not my issue. What my issue is, this week her son came on, whatever, talking about his own mother, and saying that basically she's a kind of a loony, basically, right? That's the kind of thing that he was basically trying to say, is that she's, you know, mentally deranged in some way, and she's dangerous, and so on and so forth. So picking up on that loyalty, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind is, wow, how can a son do that to his own mother, right? What do you reckon on that loyalty thing, Inessa, that you brought up about having loyalty to your own parents? I don't think they talk that well. They're not the best of friends, put it that way. It doesn't seem. But coming publicly to denounce his own mother, what do you reckon on that?
In my opinion, I just think everything what's going on inside the family should be stay inside the family. And also we have to respect our parents, doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter how they brought up us, how the bad was to us, how even some parents is abusive. Probably they have their own trauma, this is why they act like this, but it should be respect for this. It's still the parents, and is this problem should be sorted out inside the family, probably with the therapist or I don't know, with some like kind of family support on this way. But I think it shouldn't be brought up on the public. Which is my opinion.
What do you reckon, Mitchell?
What do I think about loyalty? I guess regards to going public or speaking on a camera about a family member, no, I wouldn't agree with that. If there's abuse or difficulties within a household, then to deal with it in the appropriate manner. And there are definitely services out there that you can link into to deal with that. Obviously, I definitely don't agree with parents abusing their children and things like that. That straight away, sorry, my head just goes safeguarding. So I don't agree. No, I don't agree with that.
From the point of view of respect, obviously, and Inessa agrees, I'm sure as well. We're all agreed that there should be no abuse, right? So nobody is saying there should be abuse. And if there's any abuse, the proper steps should be taken, safeguarding. It doesn't matter who you are. But the point of ridiculing your parents, no matter what, do you agree that that shouldn't be done in public? Or would you say there are times when you can ridicule your parents in public?
It's not something that I would it's ever come to. It's not something I'd ever think about doing. No, if I've got something to say, it'd be to my parent, my father. That's my living parent at the moment. So I would, if I've got an issue or there's something, I would speak to my father about it. And also, at the end of the day, I don't. Why would I need to do that? What would be my personal gain in doing that? Really? I don't understand.
Probably could come up with a few things that anybody could come up with. But I agree with Inessa here that, no matter what, we should have respect for our parents. And I will kind of explain that in my opinion is not necessarily because the parent has really earned respect, right? It's not from that point of view that I say that. It is that for our own well-being, we need to respect our parents, because no matter how horrific they have behaved, we need to come back to that point that we are here because of them, right? And we would not have our life if it wasn't because of them. So there has to be an inbuilt respect for that, the position of parents, not necessarily what they've embodied as parents, some yes and some no, but for the position of my parents, that has to gain respect. And if I go out there and ridicule my parents or insult my parents or whatever it is, particularly in public, then basically I'm doing it to myself, I think. Because the institution, if you like, of my own parents or my family should be protected. It shouldn't be protected if they do illegal things. You can report them to the police. You can get them.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about after all that's gone, or even if they're, not criminals in any way, but I just don't like them. I still think, I agree with Inessa, that we need to respect the institution of parents or respect the institution of families.
Yeah, that's right.
What about personal relationships, intimate relationships? I mean, there's two sides to it. There's building the relationship, and then there's sometimes these relationships end.
That's always I think that's when you talk about that, about relationships, especially if it's, partners and things like that, you start off, when you meet someone, you have everything's really, it appears to be very nice, everything's going very nice, and then at times things can change. People do different things, respond differently, maybe don't do the things they used to do, and this creates a bit of tension. And then it goes from, I guess, the love that two people have for each other to then this intense, which is, very the opposite, the polar opposite, to an intense, to some degree, to even to hate. To anger, to hate, and it just becomes very, very fragmented. And then when you're looking back at where you've come from and how it was, I think sometimes it's even blurred how you got to this bit. And maybe that's because, you know, we weren't working, or I wasn't, let's say, for instance, myself, I wasn't working at the relationship enough to see things were changing, and that maybe I wasn't present. There's so many factors. But yeah, I'm always astounded of how things shift and change to that degree.
Well, I'm actually working on a workshop now. I'm part of a movement called Awareness, Courage and Love, and I'm going to be doing a workshop. I used to do them regularly in Manchester before the lockdown, but we'll be doing an online one next week. And one of the things you just mentioned it there, that's what's reminded me, is you know, the first part of awareness, courage and love is awareness. So that awareness, that being present, that understanding and being aware of what's going on inside me, you know, inside a relationship, but also what's going on in the partner in a relationship, and how present are we in this relationship together. And that awareness is the first, you know, let's say the first step. We have to, because a lot of times relationships, at the very beginning, everybody's aware, right? Everybody, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good. The awareness is very, very high, almost hyper aware when two people meet and all the excitement's there. But eventually, as the, you know, the old saying goes, you're taking for granted. But basically that taking for granted goes into a form of automatic behavior, doesn't it? So then everybody's just doing their thing. We get used to seeing each other. So, you know, the attraction might still be there, but, you know, it's not brand new anymore. It's not shiny. And we also start to see, you know, the longer relationships go on, you start to see the little, you know, nicks and crooning, and what do you call it?
Nooks and crannies.
That's it. All the bits that are not quite, and then the behavior, and then there's maybe a little bit of annoying here and there, and a little argument here and there. So things start to take shape, and you know. But what can happen is that you go into automatic pilot, right? So you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you have your coffee, you go out to work, you come back, hi, how you doing? And you miss, and then you know you begin to. It's not you're actually getting further apart. You're just getting less and less aware of each other, and you just become almost automatic zombies. And so then all sorts of dust can settle in.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I was going to actually say, so do you think that could pay a relationship is, as you said, sort of drifted because not because of any particular reason, just because, as you just said, we get into a routine and we're just doing what we're doing, not really paying attention, and maybe not even present. You know, you're in your own little bubble. And do you think that maybe then, if someone else pays attention, a different relationship starts outside of the relationship you're already in, which is when other problems then suddenly arise, because it becomes the attention that maybe someone's seeking and not receiving. But if they're getting it from somewhere else, then the attraction might not be. They still might care about the person they're with, but because they're getting that attention, that's when relationships you can go down that other avenue.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll connect that to it's like the beginning of the relationship. Both, all of a sudden we're hyper aware again. So hyper aware. So you're like, oh, there's something going on here. But that's a bit of a false economy, isn't it? Because eventually that would turn in. So the next part of it is courage, and I think the courage is really important, and that is the courage to open up. The courage to open up and say, this is how I'm actually feeling in my relationship. This, you know, if you keep quiet, well, then you're not really showing up in your own relationship, are you? So you've got to have the courage. Sometimes it can be a little scary, right? Because you feel it and you got all these thoughts and you're not quite sure. But I need to open up and say, this is not really going maybe the way that I would like it, and I'm feeling hurt. And then have the courage to allow the other person to open up. Because sometimes we have the courage to open up ourselves, but we're like, no, we don't want to hear you, right? I will spill myself over out and that, but I don't want to hear, and we get all defensive, right? When we hear it, we get all, oh, no, I did this. Oh, no, you don't understand. You didn't understand. I meant this, I meant that. And we start defending ourselves rather than having the courage to just allow the other person to express themselves and then really listen deeply and be aware of what they're saying. And then allow the courage for you to explain yourself rather than each other, battling away all the time. Have the courage to open up. And then the last part is love. And love means the love of reinforcing somebody by saying, I'm really, really touched that you have had the courage to tell me that. You know how powerful that is when you say to somebody, even if it hurts, if it's not nice to hear, right? I feel so touched that you're able and you feel safe enough to tell me these things. Because a lot of people don't speak out in a relationship because they don't feel safe enough. And I don't mean they're going to get a whack round the face, although that sometimes happens too. I mean that if I tell you something really important and hurtful, and I tell you that, and you say, oh, what you're talking about, I didn't really mean that. That's about you. That's not about me, right? But if you say, wow, the fact that you've managed to tell me that means that there's something important about our relationship here, and it's something safe in our environment that allows you to tell me that. I want to know more about how you feel. We're not in court. It's not about being right or wrong, is it? It's about what's happening in the relationship. Can you tell me that I hurt you? And do I have courage enough to accept that I hurt you? And maybe, I'll ask, how can I make it different next time and learn? So that's what awareness, courage, and love is about.
Inessa, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's really nice and wise saying, and also like, but maybe it's the same things to add. Like, it's the empathy as well, and empathy work and understanding other person. Just put other person on their own place, and just it's just all about empathy and work. Work every day almost on this.
Yeah.
And it's compromising. It's also compromising. It's not like, for example, some person could be open up to other person because they try to work on relationship, and they, for example, can say and open up and say like, look, maybe you may make me that time uncomfortable or I hurt. And it's very important another person, as you said, maybe I just repeat your words, will accept that and will try to change without saying, oh, no way, it's not me, it's just you. So the person who open up, they can be more hurt because they open up already what it was difficult. So the person going to be more hurt and they will feel more lonely with all this problem which is appear in relationship. So I think that each problem should be talked through, or some misunderstanding, as everything should be talked through and listening from both sides, compromise, and just move on from that problem.
I think question. I'm getting a bit of a background here. I don't know. There's one question that, I had to just leave one question for the people watching this, is to ask the other person. It doesn't matter if it's an intimate relationship or a work relationship or anything, is what needs do you have that I can meet for you, right? What is it you need that help me to help you, right? So tell me, because there's a lot of people that think you should mind read, right? So what are your needs that I can help meet? Right? Most people are not going to, decent people, if I say, my bags are really heavy. Can you help me just kind of carry it across the road? They're going to say, you know, no way. You know, there's very few, right? So if I tell you my need, if I have the courage to tell you, I need for you to hug me right now. I need for you to just sit down, not say anything, but just sit with me while I mourn the loss of whatever. Or I've just had a really bad day at work. Just be there for me. Whatever it is. What needs do you have right now that I can help meet? I think the world would be an amazingly different place.
Well, let's hope that from this point, the people watching or other people, when it gets shown again, will pick up on that and invest some time into that and move it forward.
So thanks for everyone. We're on our last few seconds. So our last round of words of wisdom before we close off for another week. Mitchell.
Words of wisdom. Work on your relationships. Always work on your relationships. It's really important. Be it at work, family, friend, whatever. Just do the work.
Inessa.
Just give love to the people and give with meaning, love.
Wonderful. So my words, yeah, thanks. My words of wisdom are awareness, courage, and love. That's my thing for this week. Be aware of yourself and the other person, no matter who they are. Have the courage to speak up and have the courage to let the other person speak up, and be lovable, you know, encourage them and ask them what needs need to be met. That's it for just now. This is it. Until next week.
Stay safe, everyone. See you.
Take care.